Hello, everybody. I am getting to you just a tad later than I usually do. It's 5:37 my time, and I hope I am popping up on your Facebook newsfeed. And if you are watching this on YouTube, hi there. I have a fun topic today, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart. Some of you may or may not know that at one point in my life, I was a classroom teacher. And even when I taught 7th and 8th grade, I would read out loud to my students. And I'll never forget, I had about half my students were Navajo. I was teaching up in Page, Arizona, right on the border of the Navajo reservation. And I would read out loud. And I remember some of these kids coming in, and many of them actually, they lived on the reservation, and a number of them, probably a good percentage of them, maybe 30% or so, they were living in just, a lot of times traditional hogans and without power. Or I remember one case, to watch TV, they would go and sit out in their truck and watch a little TV plugged into their cigarette lighter. That was a long time ago, but I would always read out loud to them because I just thought, what an amazing way to explore subjects and times in history and different kinds of ways of living just through a book. I remember I was reading James and the Giant Peach to them, and one day one of these Navajo kids came in, and he was one that was, he had told me, he lives out, and they watch TV in their on their truck. And he said, "Hey, you're going to read to us about that big old peach again today?" And I would just, even though they would kind of complain and they thought, "Oh, we're too old, for you to read out loud to us," they loved it, and I loved it. And I have always read out loud to my own kids, and even my husband. When we would go on vacations, I would read out loud, and he would get into the stories too. And we're babysitting a French dog today. Let's see if I can. Oh, there she went. She was a huge, big old white Great Pyrenees. Man, is she big. We fostered her for a while, and then she was adopted, and just the best home ever. But every once in a while, her owner goes out of town, and we volunteer to babysit. So here she is with us with a huge and ferocious bark. Are you familiar with Great Pyrenees? Great Pyrenees dogs. Now she's playing with our other foster. It's kind of crazy in here. Our subject today is how to teach kids about natural disasters. And I have some kind of fun ideas for you that might be a little bit outside the norm. And if you'll just give me a second, I'd like to share this live video on my Facebook page with a couple of my groups. I have a group that is for women, and it is called Women Only, and it is called We Are Survival Moms, and it's a pretty active group. You can always request to join. And Liz mentions that her mother-in-law has had a few Pyrenees. They're wonderful dogs. They are. And this one here is fun. We found her when she was a stray, and she had been out on her own for a long time. And so my husband and I, we heard about this big old white dog that was in a construction area, not far from our house. And so we went and tracked her down, and sure enough, she had been living for quite a while just on whatever scraps like construction workers would leave for her. And she was really skinny. She weighed about 70 pounds. At that time, she probably should have weighed, close to 100. And so it was kind of fun getting to fatten up a dog. Right now, our little dog Moxie, we're trying to find ways to help her reduce. And she's another stray. So I guess you could say all of our current animals were free. All right, let's talk a little bit about kids and natural disasters. I know some of you may have seen in the past in the news, after a really horrific event like a tornado or something similar, sometimes children will be asked by their teachers or, maybe counselors, to draw a picture. And the pictures are always so sad. A lot of times, for example, in a tornado, I remember the tornado was huge. It took up, half the page, and then the people were just really little. And you could just tell that the child that drew that felt so helpless against something that was so large and scary, unpredictable, violent. But our kids, just like we can teach them to, know what to do if they are ever approached by, someone unfamiliar with them, or they're in a situation where it doesn't feel right. We can also teach them what to expect when it comes to extreme weather, a snowstorm or something similar, or a natural disaster. So I have 3 things for you and 3 tips. whether you have kids of your own, grandkids, you work with kids in some capacity or another, or maybe you just would like to have this in the back of your mind. Number one, are kids not the most curious little creatures ever? They want to know everything. And you can tap into that natural interest. They want to know, they're really particularly interested in nature and weather, and they can see things around them. So for example, when it's it's a big storm, thunder, a lot of rain, lightning, it could be scary, but they're going to naturally be interested in that. And if they hear news, where we live, there are a lot of floods, hurricanes, and so on, some tornadoes. So the kids would just naturally, wow, what's going on? And a part of that curiosity is also the desire, whether it's apparent or not, but just the desire to face that and be courageous. Kids want to be heroes. And whether it's a young kid or an older teenager, they really want to face something scary. And a lot of times we've seen articles in the news about a kid, protecting a little sister or something like that. So that's kind of just a natural instinct in some kids. So by tapping into their natural interest in weather, in nature, in the earth, that really is a good starting point. And you can just kind of start pointing that out. There are a lot of kids shows on TV that focus on nature. And I am several years away from being on top of all the latest kids shows, but just shows that talk about, I know, Magic School Bus. My kids learned so much from the Magic School Bus, and sure enough, they would investigate things like hurricanes and different kinds of weather. So tap into that natural interest because it's there. Secondly, use that interest to help them learn the science behind things, because all of us are reassured to one point or another when we understand something. And so if kids understand the science and what is an earthquake, volcano, what is a tornado, how does a tornado work? And there are different experiments that you can find online and on YouTube where kids can actually do a hands-on activity, or they can see for themselves just how a tornado is created or how an earthquake happens. So help them learn the science behind that. They'll get some of it in school, but I don't really think that, if it were me, I would not count on that, because when they come home, that is when you have really a golden opportunity to just focus attention on something that's current, something that might happen. Here where we are, it's still tornado season. And out of the blue, there was an announcement that the NOAA, they expect, this hurricane season to be super busy. Well, it's almost mid-August, and so they better get on with these hurricanes, because there really has not been a whole lot that's happened out in the Atlantic. But when you start hearing those things on the news, that's a heads up to you. Oh, well, you know what? Let's see if we can't find, a YouTube video or maybe a children's book about a hurricane or something similar, whatever is going on in current events or is likely to happen. So YouTube videos, National Geographic website for kids, those will have fantastic resources, and then just nonfiction books you can get from the library. Third tip, read aloud books. I mentioned earlier how much I loved reading aloud as a teacher and as a parent, and there is a gold mine of fantastic books where you can sit down in the comfort and safety of your home, and you can start reading Little House on the Prairie and read about how the family coped during a blizzard, how they coped with one disaster or another, and just use that as a springboard. And when winter is coming, at some point, depending on where you live, you're closer to it, than others. But with winter approaching, some of the blizzards that are depicted in the Little House of the Prairie books, that series, just stop for a moment and say, gosh, we don't live back in pioneer times, but I wonder, what could we do to make our home safe and cozy if there was ever that kind of a snowstorm here? And when you approach it that way, it's not, the end of the world. It's just, what could we do? Gosh, we read about floods happening, down in Houston. I wonder, what if we started seeing water coming up on our front, on our front yard? What are some things you think we could do? And just kind of, there's a line between fear and knowledge and being prepared. And that is the side that you want to be on when you work with kids. So I would not overburden, depending on the age, I wouldn't overburden them with too much information. But even kind of making it a game. I mean, I would just, you could even just play pretend. Come here, let's get under the blankets, let's pretend there's a big blizzard outside. What do you think? What are some things that we could do? And turn it into something that is more of a game than something as, kids, I have something to tell you. We need to get ready. Winter is coming. That is not good for anybody. So the 3 points again, just take advantage of their natural interest. They really are. They just want to learn, and they especially want to learn about the things around them, the things that they are actually seeing and experiencing. And a big part of that is weather. Use that natural interest to help them learn the science behind it. And there are a lot of helps online. And then third, read aloud books. And I have a page on my website for you. And I invite you to go there because there are so many books on different survival related topics. Most are fiction, but some I believe are nonfiction. It's a long list. So you can go to that list now at thesurvivalmom.com/kids survival lit, L-I-T. Again, thesurvivalmom.com/kids survival lit, and there will be a direct link to that in the description of this video lesson, whether it's you're watching it on YouTube or whether you're watching it on Facebook. If you're a member of Survival Mom Sisterhood, all you have to do is log in, go to your video vault, and it's going to be there along with the link. So I would invite you right now to kind of think these things through, get some resources on hand, and then just customize this so it suits your family, your home, your children, and their ages. So hope that helps. I'm going to be back with another really interesting topic, and this one occurred to me just out of the blue, and I'm going to call it junk drawer prepping. That's right, junk drawer prepping. So the next time you see me on Facebook, I will be live. I might have my own junk drawer right in front of you. It's pretty organized, looks pretty good now. It didn't a few weeks ago. So again, click on the link and get that list. You can print it out yourself, or you can just click and explore the different titles. They all go to Amazon, so you can read the reviews and see what you think. That's all for now. I will see you next time when we talk about junk drawer prepping. See you then.